Welcome back to another day of the 25 Days of Flows, the Power Automate Advent Calendar. Today we are doing day 2. And day 2 brings us into CDS a little bit, gives us a peek at how we can make changes in Dynamics and have it show up, say, in Office 365 scenarios. Because we know we often collaborate between Dynamics and Office 365. So how do we make that collaboration really easy with Flow? Well, we use some of these automations that are built in. So this particular one pays attention to when a change is made in Dynamics, then when that change is made, updates will be forwarded to a Microsoft's Teams message, okay? And you pick the teams. I've already downloaded the Flow, but let me just take a minute to do a little bit of a review, and then we'll talk a lot about templates today. So first, let's do our review. Yesterday, we talked about the difference between automated schedule and instant flows. And so we get that. We also talked about the difference between standard and premium connectors and custom connectors. And so we get that. And you'll have information below the video with all the pricing and licensing guidance that you need. In addition to that, yesterday we did a automated flow that notifies you when I upload a video. So if you created that flow yesterday or you downloaded it yesterday, then you were notified today when I uploaded my video. It used 2 connectors, YouTube and notification. And what we learned yesterday about connectors is sometimes they have triggers and actions, and sometimes they have triggers or actions. So we need to look at the docs when we want to investigate what we can do with a connector. All premium connectors are tagged as premium. So these 2 are standard. So today we're going to use a premium connector. We're going to use the Dynamics connector, which is a premium connector, in order to catch changes that are made in a particular entity in Dynamics and push the information about that into Teams. We're also going to learn how to use trigger conditions in Dynamics and how we can format our message in Flow for Teams, okay? Later on, we'll be doing an adaptive card in Teams, which can receive information from Teams. This one is just posting information on Teams. So let's take a look at the template gallery in Flow together. So I'm going to go back to Browse Templates and notice that, I don't know whether you noticed this, but I have done a search for Dynamics right here. So if you notice, I just typed the word Dynamics. I suggest you do that. If you have a commonly used data source that you use all the time, spend a minute or 2 and do a search for that data source on the template page, because you'll be surprised how many templates right out of the box we have willing and waiting for you, right? So today we wanted to notify a team when a change is made in Dynamics. So notice right here, we have notify your team about new opportunities. Now, this is the thing I want to tell you. This is like what I consider to be a big tip for all of you newbies out there. Don't expect the template to be always exactly what you need. If it gets you close, then you can revise it and you don't have to start from scratch. And believe it or not, my first few months of using Flow myself, I always started with a template and then I would revise and I would learn from the template. So being that this has the exact connectors we're looking for, Dynamics to Teams, why don't we check this template out and see if it can help us out? So I'm going to click on the template and you'll notice that it immediately logs me into my connections. And that's because I have connected in this environment before using both Dynamics and Teams. So it made those connections. If you didn't have a connection, it would tell you it needs it and you would create it like we did yesterday, okay? So when a new record is added to your CRM, alert the team about this activity. Well, here's the little secret that maybe isn't well known. all of the dynamic entities, no matter which SaaS you're talking about, is housing its data in CDS. So since it's housing its data in CDS, we can actually use this template for any entity in CDS. So let's go ahead and click continue here. And let's take a look at the template. So first it wants to know the organization name and the entity name. Again, I can pick any environment that I have. I'm going to pick my CDS demonstrations, and I can pick any entity that I have. And the entity that I have is a potential change order entity. It's an entity that I'm using to capture potential change orders for my project. Now, notice that this did not have to be opportunities. So I can just go up here and say, notify your team about new PCOs. Okay. Now, in a little bit, I'm going to actually make this even more precise, but let's move on to the next thing we have to fill out. So this is our trigger. Our trigger's done. Nothing else to say. We could add a comment here if we wanted, saying new PCO records will trigger this flow. Okay. And if I want to, I can also rename this when a PCO record is created. And so these are what I consider to be best practices. When you are documenting your flows, you want to think about naming them so that they make sense related to what they're doing or what their role is. And then naming your triggers and your actions to let people to clarify what their purpose is, right? And then you can do that. You can even add your own comments anytime you think, and you know what, another person who might pick up this flow might not know what to do, or they might not understand this. So I'm going to explain it. All right. And that's when we change names and we add comments. Now I'm going to put this in one of my Microsoft Teams instances called Power Platform Demos, and I'm going to put it in the channel built for that purpose, which is PCO notifications. All right. Now, when I click here, you'll notice I don't get a lot of content, do I? I get two things here. That's it. I want everything from that record. So I'm going to show you a trick, right? But first, I'm going to run this with the name. So I'm just going to put the name in here. And sometimes I'll do this. I'll run it. And my goal is, just to give you a heads up, my goal is after I run this, I'm going to be able to see what is the outputs of that trigger. Okay? So I am going to go ahead and add one more thing. So when we make a lot of PCOs, so I'm going to take you to this is my PCO, a model-driven app. And if I change to contract management and I pick one of these contractors, I can go in here and add a PCO specifically for a particular contractor. And we have two types. We have cost and schedule. This particular team is a finance team, and they're not concerned about new schedule PCOs. They're only concerned about cost PCOs, okay? So what we're going to do in that case, so that we get the right thing for them, is we're going to triage this trigger by using trigger conditions. So if I go back to my flow and I change this trigger slightly just by going into those three dots and then hitting settings, I'm going to add a trigger condition that basically says if the change is related to schedule. So I actually have made this little formula here. And if you go back in my YouTube, you'll get like tips on how to put these formulas together really easy using filter arrays or different things like that to help you build out the formula. But this one's pretty self-evident. I just want to point out a couple of things about this condition. So basically, it will only trigger if the impact type is cost. But CDS has its own way of naming columns that occur in the back end when you build them. And you can see this when you're building your Power Apps. So if I go to my data, let's change to that right environment. I'm just going to show you how you can see the real names. I'm going to go to entities, and I'm going to find that PCO entity. I can just search for it here. And then I'm going to open that up. And you'll notice I have a field called impact type. This is where they pick whether it's cost or schedule. So this has a display name, which everybody sees on the screen in my model-driven app and in my entities. But behind the scenes, Flow is looking for the real name, which is the internal name or the logical name for that field. And you can see it right here. Flow also expects an underscore in front of it. So you'll notice in this flow that I've made here, we have the internal name preceded by an underscore. So what we're saying is if the trigger body is in the column called impact type, and it's the label of the impact type, and it turns out to be cost, then this triggers. It should not trigger if they choose schedule. So this way I'm protecting myself from triggering schedule and notifying them of schedule. I'm also preventing a waste of time because I could have filtered this, or done a condition right after the action, but why not just not trigger it unless it has a cost impact? All right, so now let's save this and let's see if we can make it trigger. Okay, so I'm going to go to my account and I'm going to create a new PCO here. Let's just do replace garage door. Okay, and then this will be a cost impact, and the cost of this is going to be $897.50. And the description is Bear broke down the garage door due to meat smells. I don't know what I'm saying here. So the bear smelt some meat, and so he broke down the garage door, so we had to replace it, and it cost us $897, and you got to pay us back is basically what this contractor is saying. So I'm going to go ahead and save and close that. Now I could run my business process flow at this time, but I don't want to because we're talking about something different. I'm just going to save and close. And now that is a new change order for contractor number 2. So basically our flow should have triggered. Okay, so let's just go back one and let's do all runs, and you'll see that it is running right now. So it did trigger. It did trigger, which means that in my teams I should have the title, which is replace garage door right here. Okay, so this was the one I tested right before. This is the one right now. Okay, so it's working. Let's look at what it outputs. So basically when I say let's look at what it's outputting, I mean in this place right here, which is showing us how the flow ran, like what happened while it ran, each of these different things, so triggers and actions, will show us inputs and outputs. So what started this is the inputs, right? And what got kicked out are the outputs. So you can see with this that although our dynamic tags didn't show us these things, we definitely do have a description, an impact type label, an impact type, which is the option set value. Again, look about 2 weeks ago in my videos and you'll see that I talk about that. And then John Lau did a really great video to show how to get it dynamically, although I made a hard-coded array. But each of the option sets have both a label and a type and a number value, which represents that in a number fashion. But we don't even need that. We just needed to know that it's cost, right? And we also needed to know what was going to happen and why. And then you can see all this other stuff that came out. We actually got the cost, total cost values. We got the currency. We got, look at this. We got so much information in these outputs. So I'm going to show you how we find these things that we didn't see a minute ago. Okay, so then the next thing is the alerting of the team. Here are the inputs. And basically the only thing I chose was the title or the name of the PCO, the subject matter. And then you can see everything that came out of that, right? So it's a good idea to kind of get used to opening up your triggers and your actions and kind of looking at the inputs, outputs. I love it when it's like this. So like in this case, it's kind of spelled out field by field, and I can see how flow translates what I see in CDS, right? And if the output is extensive and it ends up with a JSON body, I can see that too down here. And I might copy that out to Notepad so I can look at it better, or I'll just look at it here. There's also a bunch of headers that can be helpful too. So it's a good idea, and don't be intimidated by this if you're brand new. You don't actually need it, but it will help you grow in your mastery of flow to get to know how to read these outputs, okay? And we'll talk about them a few times before this series is over. All right, so now we're going to fix it, right? Because we want more than just the name. So I'm going to show you how you can get this to come up. So I'm in the message property here, and this message property is probably just an HTML string in real life. And so it's assuming that's what I want. I'm going to delete that, and you'll notice that it won't change if I go to this mode. And this is like HTML tag mode, where you can see your div tags and so forth, and you can put your own in too. But I'm going to leave it normal, and I'm going to go over to the right, and I'm going to put a question mark in my expression. So notice I'm in advanced expressions, and I'm just going to put a question mark. And I think of this question mark as my help. I need to find something I can't find. I could have parsed above and it would have come out probably better, but I think this is a quick and easy way to get everything. So I just do question mark. Now when I go back to dynamic content, guess what happens? Everything shows up, even if I even get my little Seymour that I love, right? So I can type here title, and then this is the name. And then all you have to do to get it to show up over there is remove the question mark and say, okay, and now that's over there. I might also want to have the impact type. Now here's where you want to be careful, right? You know why? I'm going to just put an extra return here. You know why I want to be careful? Because impact type is going to have that label and that value. And the value is actually a number. I just want the label here because I want to tell them whether they picked cost or schedule. All right. And again, I clicked it, and now I'm going to get rid of that question mark and click OK. I must have done something too fast. Hold on. It says I have an error. And sometimes, you know, all you have to do is kind of hit your space bar too quickly, and then you can sometimes delete something it needs. So I'm going to do question mark. I'll just start over whenever. I don't try to troubleshoot it really. I impact type label, and then I carefully remove my question mark and click OK. Now I'm going to type the description, and notice that I'm just combining text with tags, right? But the way I'm getting all the tags is by first typing the question mark. And then I'm going to click description, and then I'm going to remove the question mark and say OK. All right. Now, we only asked for cost impacts. So as far as the cost estimate, we just need that one field. We don't need the scheduling field, right? So I'm going to do question mark, go back here, and we should have a cost impact US dollars, right? So this is actually, in our case, an estimate, because we will do a business process where we might negotiate this cost with the contractor. Okay, so we got title, impact type, description, and cost estimate. I think that's good enough information. Now, when we get to adaptive cards, I'm going to show you how you can actually request information from people on the team. But in this case, we're just notifying them. All right. So I'm going to click save here. And now our flow is completely done. So we took a template and we just revised it for our needs, and we were done so quickly. If I wasn't talking so much, we'd have been done in like 1 minute, because that's how easy this is. So I can go ahead and test this by using the last data, right? Because it still applies. So I can go ahead and use the same. So it pretends like, okay, the last new thing that came in that had a cost impact, we already did that. So I can just use it as a test. And so I'll say test using the succeeded entry. And it worked very well. If we go back to, I think I went back one test. So the test I did with you was the test succeeded. The one before that was another one. But here you go. Here we can see this here. They got the title, the impact type, the description, and the cost estimate. And I can always revise these, to bold and underline and things like that. Here's the one that I actually export. I didn't do anything different. So you can do this one yourself, or you can download the one that I did. And remember, use any entity that you want to give an update to any team you want. So you'll have to replace the team channel and the entity and so forth, but it will just work for you just as easily as it worked for me. I might do some bolding here because we did add rich text formatting for our team's messages, which I really like. You can even do bullets and such. And again, I'll do the test again. So I can do the test succeeded. I can use that, or I can use it succeeded, or I can just go and add another potential change order and provoke it again. All right, so basically all I did this time was add bolding. So I hope this was a useful demonstration today for you. I really like the idea of being able to collaborate between Dynamics and Office 365, kind of them working in partnership together, CDS supporting maybe even your frontline workers from Teams. A lot to think about. Tons of fun to do, and aren't we grateful there's so many templates? We don't have to start from square zero. I'm looking forward to day 3, where I have even more tips and tricks and another flow to share with you from these 25 days of flows, the Power Automate Advent Calendar. Wishing you the happiest holidays, and I'll see you tomorrow.